everything, everything. You know, it was, if you could say, it was him that brought about the brothers' rectification, because it was, behold, it was a surprise, and Moshe was all nervous there, and here he comes. He was all about unifying and bringing back the tikkun of wholeness, because in essence, from the moment, from the second that Hashem brought reality into the world, everything was scattered, and it had to be gathered up again, because Hashem allowed himself to be scattered out. And then after eating from the tree, even further and more complicated, and Aaron was all about unifying those sparks again. Now, the only yurtzeit, the anniversary of death, the only anniversary of death that is explicitly written in the Torah is Aaron's. His yurtzeit is coming up. We're about to start Tammuz, and then the anniversary of his death is the 1st of Av, the month after Tammuz, the 1st of Av. And when he left the world, it says in Numbers chapter 20, verse 29, he was mourned. It says that about other greats in the Torah, but it says it a bit differently about Aaron. It says he was mourned by Kol Bet Yisrael, the entire house of Israel. Again, now that we're beginning to think about words, why this word choice? Why so many words? Why for Aaron? Why here? Kol, all, Beit, the house, Israel. Why didn't say he was mourned by Israel? Or he's mourned by all? Kol Beit Yisrael, the entire house of Israel. What happened was, Aaron, was buried on Hor HaHar. His brother and his son went up. You're familiar with this very moving story about how he was buried. It was so very moving that Moshe himself longed to be buried that way, and Hashem said, I will bury you that way too. It was a very moving experience. Down from the mountain comes Moshe and Eleazar, no Aaron. And the people were in absolute denial. They couldn't believe it. They wouldn't accept that he was gone. They could not accept that he was gone. They said that Aaron, who was able to stop the plague and go into the people between the dead and the living, and he was able to stop a plague of the angel of death, how could he be taken? It's not possible. They were so in love with this man. This man was everything to them, and we will see why. And they could not accept his death, and so they couldn't begin to mourn. So Moshe begged Hashem to help them begin to mourn. And the oral tradition teaches that Hashem allowed the nation to see some sort of vision of Aaron laid out and the ministering angels eulogizing him. And this was the first thing that enabled them to begin the mourning process and to begin to get some closure, to accept the fact that he was really no longer among them. But the very fact that it says the entire household, that means it's not like one person didn't like him. The entire household. He was a unifier, and therefore that's what he brought. Beit, the house. What did Aaron do for the households of Israel? It's a very famous story, and some of you may know it, but I think we all learn it in a little, preschool fashion, so we're going to go a little bit deeper. So it goes like this. Aaron's walking down the street. This is what the oral tradition teaches us. He sees two people that are not getting along. He goes to one. And he says, you know what? He says, he's really sorry. He really he just adores you. He can't believe this. He wants it to be right. He just loves you so much. And then he goes to the other guy and he says the same thing. Or he goes to the husband and then to the wife or to the neighbors. And he says the same thing. And then they're walking down the street and they meet. And they hug and they say, oh, and it's all because Aaron did all this orchestrating behind the scenes. Okay, that's a cute story, but it's a little silly because they'll start talking, and in 1 minute it's very clear that Aaron pulled one over on them, right? Because that's not what the oral tradition is telling us here. The oral tradition is going much deeper. What Aaron was doing when he confronted the individual, what he was doing was he helped the other person see and feel and experience the other perspective in such a way to have real empathy for the other human being. Now, he was able to do this to bring greater awareness to the other person, so much so that when they joined up again, they were seeing each other differently. That's what this oral tradition is actually teaching us about Aaron. Now again, everything we're learning today, God willing, is a transformative experience, which means it's not an interesting anecdote, it's about what we do, God willing, in our own selves. So what does Hillel say exactly? He says, be the student of Aaron, but he goes into detail. He says like this: love peace, pursue peace, love all of Hashem's creatures, creations, and bring them to Torah. That also sounds like a nice little statement. Pat, surface. Love peace, pursue peace, love all of Hashem's creations, and bring them to Torah. Now the thing is, there's a lot here, a tremendous amount here. First, let's go to the Hebrew. It says, Haveh Talmidim shel Aharon. Haveh. Haveh means be. But the tense, if any of you know Hebrew, Haveh is present ongoing. Present ongoing. And it's telling us right there that this is the work of a lifetime. This is why we've been given 120 years on this earth. It's a present ongoing process of development going on as we live. It's not been there, done that. It's ongoing, deepening, more insight, more work, falling down, getting up. That's what we are being told from the outset. When we look at this, love, peace, and pursue peace, these do not go together. They do not, if you think about it, they do not go together. When I love peace, when I love harmony, when I love the unity of Hashem's being in this world, on any level, on the human level, on the emotional level, on the spiritual level, we could say loving peace is passive. Passive, okay? Passive. It's all inside here. Pursuit of is active. It's taking a stand for something, and as we will see, these are conflicting ideas, perhaps. These are perhaps a conflict. Because if somebody really loves, the peace, they don't want to get involved. They want to gently close the door because they love it so much, and they can, it's like sticky, it's rocking the boat. I don't want to go there. Don't want to go there. When I pursue peace, I could also be going in the wrong direction. I could be so strong, so justified, so right, that I will demand and pursue. So we see these two ideas are both brought down here because loving peace and pursuing peace are very fine-tuned. That how do we remain a lover of without losing the ability to be a fighter for? Okay? Because the love of could prevent action, and the fighter for could prevent love. We, getting carried away with ourselves, rah, 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 things get lost in the shuffle. So if we could lose perspective, we could be too invested, we could be too passionate or too justified. And when that happens, we always have to be measuring and balancing ourselves. Are we loving so much that we don't want to get involved, which means we're really not invested in fixing, in the wholeness of Hashem, in the harmony of His creation, in the harmony of brethren, of siblings, of people, of nations? Are we too passive? Are we protecting ourselves? Or are we losing our ability to love for the cause? So we always have to be monitoring ourselves. These are brilliant words. None of the words of the sages are simple. None of the words of the sages are shallow. They require much contemplation. So if we become too passive and not involved, we can't change anything. And it's not about caring about the other person. It's about self-preservation, if we really think about it. If a person could say, you're okay, I'm okay, that's not love. That is self-preservation. That is even disinterest, perhaps. And then on the other side, when we have the active pursuit of, that might be about me and not the other. Just like the first is about me and not the other. So how it's very, very, very fine-tuned, because we can be extremely tolerant to the point of acceptance that will lower our expectation in another human being. And we could be overly motivated that crushes the other human being. It's